You are what you eat. Have you ever heard of this saying and got totally confused as to what this even means? So, if you really think about it, I am a collection of three things: my body, my mind, and my thoughts and my emotions. And number three, my productivity and output. But I'm definitely not the food I eat, right? Absolutely wrong. You are indeed what you eat. And the more you read about it, the more convinced you'll be. See, traditionally, we millennials have restricted our understanding of nutrition as something that affects our body fat, our aesthetics, and the overall the way we look. And probably some of us also know that it also affects our propensity to get certain disease or not to get certain diseases, like for example, diabetes, thyroid, etc. What a lot of us do not know, and it's clearly exemplified by the fact that you're nine times more likely to search for a cosmetic solution when you have skin issues like an acne or oily skin or any kind of basic skin issues than you are to search for diet correction or nutrition corrections that will probably be able to help you fix it for lifelong, right? So our knowledge around the fact that nutrition is the magic pill that impacts not just your body fat, not just your chances of getting a disease, but also your skin health, your hair health, your digestion, uh, and your productivity and mood is still very uncommon. In today's episode of Changemakers, we'll be joined by Vaishali Ratnam, one of the very seasoned and experienced dietitians and health coaches in the industry, who, in the last 10 years of her career, has coached and transformed more than 5,000 people across various health goals, ranging from athletic transformation, just fighting obesity and becoming fitter, managing their diabetes, managing PCOD, helping people get rid of perennial digestion issues, and resolving problems like elevated cholesterol and controlling thyroid. Awareness around nutrition impacting your skin, hair, digestion, uh, aging, productivity, and mood is very, very limited, even amongst the most educated and very, very well read people. So, in today's episode, we'll be chatting with Vaishali and really, in a very, very fun way, trying to understand how these things are impacted by nutrition. And at the end of this podcast, a lot of you should be able to derive simple takeaways to really solve a lot of these issues that you have, be able to understand the science, ensure that you are not falling for the bro science that you read online, get a lot of information from a very, very credible person, and most importantly, be able to make the changes that you need to if you have any of these problems concerning your health. Let's dive right in. Thanks a lot for joining us, Vaishali. Pleasure to have you here on Changemakers, our weekly podcast wherein we catch up with experts like you and try to understand a bit more about nutrition and health. Uh, you know, just to get started, I would just like to do a quick rapid fire round if you're up for it. Just ask you a few questions that will be answers to which would be very, very intriguing for a lot of our listeners.
Sure. Yes, I'm ready for it.
All right. So Vaishali, you've in the last 10, 12 years of your career as a health coach, as a clinical dietitian, as a nutrition expert, you've actually, if I'm not wrong, coached more than 2,500 plus people uh, in terms of various health goals, right? So just a quick rapid fire around that. Uh, First question: what's the number of people you've been able to, help, reverse acne for or help seen major skin improvements?
Oh wow, a number. Okay. I think on an average about 250 to 300.
Got it. Number of people who've seen who had perennial digestion issues and it just vanished once they were on that entire program, whatever you recommended.
Yeah, there are many digestive cases, but again they vary in kind of degree. So I can say around say approximately 300 and more.
Oh,
So these are just fair numbers, yeah.
okay, okay. Number of people who've seen some kind of impact on their hair health, or people who were initially during their previous months were struggling with hair fall issues and that kind of stopped, or some kind of improvement there.
Lots, all of them rather. Many of them come with hair loss issues. I think I can say Every person over there has got some amount of hair loss issue. So I would say more than thousands of people. It's all connected to diet.
Got it. And finally, number of people who've seen their mood, energy levels, productivity, the immeasurables that you a lot of times don't really pay a lot of heed on, right? You can focus on your weight, body fat, etc. But how's your mood? How's your daily energy levels? How's your productivity, right? Have you seen people seeing changes on that front as well?
Very first day, I'm telling you, people in the very first week, they start see a lot of changes in the energy levels, mood. So I think it's everybody, who has never done a clean eating before, or maintain their physical activity. I think every one of them sees benefit. So it's not a number that I can actually hit on, but I think it's all of it.
Got it. Thanks a lot, Vaishali. So, just to give context to our listeners, right? The topic of our podcast is weight loss is dead, and 2020 is time for holistic thinking. I'm sure all of our listeners keep, getting to hear about the fact that okay, you don't need to obsess about the weight. It should be about holistic thinking, right? At the same time, what a lot of people do not know is what the real meaning of you are what you eat is, right? It's a thing that everybody's heard, but nobody knows what it really means, right? In fact, I keep talking to so many people who are very, very well informed on a lot of things, but when it comes to telling them or realizing that nutrition impacts your mood, digestion, skin and hair health, and a lot of these other things beyond your body fat percentage or muscle mass, which is what a lot of people focus on, it's surprising how few people actually know about that. People do care about their digestion. It is actually, having poor digestion, hair fall, skin, low energy is, drastically bringing down your quality of life. Yet a lot of people are not realizing that all of these things are not just something that you need to, be like, okay, let me go to the skin doctor, hair doctor, let me go to, figure out some tail, let me for digestion, let me do some weird churn or something, right? The awareness around, it's again coming back to diet is very, very low, right? So that's the whole agenda. That's what we'll be talking in a bit more detail in our today's discussion, right? So Vishali, I just want you to pick up. I'm sure it'll be tough because there are so many cases that you've actually solved and so many people you've helped. But just if you could, pick 2, 3 transformation stories that are not directly about fat loss or bringing down somebody from 100 kg to a more healthier body fat percentage level, transformation stories which talk about these other aspects of your overall quality of life and health that where you've seen drastic transformation and that can help people visualize कि यार इससे तो जादू हो सकता है. It's just diet, right? बहुत सारे जादू हो सकते हैं. So if you could just narrate a few instances around that.
Before that, Akshat, how much did I score on my rapid fire?
A
I
4 on
want to
4,
know that.
actually a 5 on 4, yeah. The
So are you
numbers are
giving me a
staggering.
gift after?
I will have to see about
Okay.
that.
Okay, so Akshay, yeah, coming to what you were saying, yes, diet, nutrition is about everything. And I think that's what I'm going to speak about in this entire conversation. Yeah, a couple of examples I'll definitely like to cite. But before that, the examples that I'm going to cite, I'm going to focus a lot on gut-related issues because everything starts and ends in the gut. That's what I've seen all through these years of my practice because your gut is what connects each and every organ of your body. Let it be all the symptoms that you said, your skin, your digestive issues, your hair, your energy levels, all of it. So if your gut is not healthy, it is not your all these symptoms will start exhibiting in some way or the other at some point of time. Okay, so I'll just tell you in gist what does gut health actually mean. It just means two things. One is there are some microorganisms that stay in your gut, okay, that live in your gut that actually are divided into good and bad. Okay, all of us have unique numbers of these good and bad. Okay, nobody has. You Akshat cannot have the same, and Vaishali cannot have the same. They're different from each other.
Mhm.
But the numbers are unique to you. That's good and bad. Good is what gives you good symptoms, and bad is what gives you bad symptoms. Now, if these numbers are hampered, how do these hamper? Because of environmental conditions, our diet, our lifestyle, the physical activity, the stress, etc. So, if these numbers get hampered, the bad ones become higher than the good ones. That is going to start affecting second the gut lining. Okay, the gut lining will
Okay.
start perishing over a period of time. It will start dissolving, and in literal sense you start developing pores or holes in your gut lining. So whatever you're going to eat is finally going to go into your blood or your system, and it is going to create antibodies, or in layman's sense it is going to start creating infection or injury to your organs, which is called inflammation. Inflammation is what, whenever you get an injury, your body starts getting inflamed, right? So your body is always under threat.
Correct.
Okay, this is what starts depicting as symptoms such as skin issues, hair related issues, low energy levels, gut digestive issues, all of this. So this is going to be the gist of everything that I'm going to speak about today.
Got it.
Okay, now let's go over to the examples that you asked for. I'm going to take two situations which I came across which are a little complicated. So first is something called as adrenal fatigue syndrome. The reason I'm taking this particular issue is adrenal fatigue syndrome is created due to overworking yourself, okay, and primarily due to stress. And this happens with most of us these days.
So
Okay?
is it overworking
And
my
what
body
is
or
this
overworking
adrenal
my, sorry to cut you off, Vaishali. So is it overworking my myself or overworking my digestive system?
basically your entire system? Okay, it's not overworking your digestive system. I'll tell you how that happens. Overworking your body means uh, my cortisol levels or stress hormone levels, which should be here, is always here all through the day. So now when your cortisol or stress hormone is here, your body is always under fight and flight response. That
Correct.
means always my body is conserving everything that it is eating, and it is only using the fight and flight response, wherein I just have to basically run from the particular situation. So your digestive system is basically lull. It is not doing any work at that point of time. So hence you're going to end up having a lot of digestive issues, because in any fight or flight situation, you don't need your food to get digested. You just want to run away from the situation, right? The food is not digesting at all. So hence your digestive system goes for a toss. Anything that you're going to eat is not going to get digested to the effective capacity. That is the reason now we have diseases such as irritable bowel syndrome or
Very
IBD.
common. Correct.
Okay, and it is very common among a lot of people that हाँ मैंने कुछ खा लिया और ये डाइजेस्ट नहीं हो रहा है, बट कल मैंने खाया वो डाइजेस्ट हो गया. So people are confused, like ये बॉडी में क्या हो रहा है, you know. This is called as irritable bowel disease or irritable bowel syndrome. 2-3 days your food is digesting fine, and the next 2-3 days your system is gone for a toss. So this particular client had also come to me with this particular issue. She was a Zumba trainer, almost in her late 30s, and she had adrenal stress. Let's call it adrenal stress. That means whatever she was eating was not getting digested in the system. Moreover, she was eating right. So actually there was no issue as such. But during her training time, she could not eat anything. This happens most of the time. Either we end up eating junk when we are working, or we are not eating anything all through that time.
Correct.
Okay. So how we started off dealing with her case, she had all these symptoms: skin-related problems, digestive issues, hair fall-related issues. Plus, she was planning to conceive. Okay, which was not happening. So that's what again we're facing today. Many women are not able to conceive because of the stress that we're actually having. Okay. So first we started going through a diet wherein we first made her meal as a protein rich meal of the day. Okay, it was not a carb rich meal because cortisol anyway increases sugar in your blood. So what we had to do is, in the morning your cortisol is the highest. So hence we had to give her a protein rich meal in the morning. All through the day she was training. So what can we give her? So at this point we started giving her a lot of essential fats. Now again, in irritable bowel syndrome, you cannot digest all fats. So we had to restrict our numbers of fat sources in her diet. But at the same time, we were giving her small quantities at regular intervals. She even was skipping lunch because she was under training. Okay, so we had to give her a meal which was easily digestible. And we also gave her dry fruits which she could digest. Okay, dry fruits are small sources of energy which can be give her that spurt of energy at that point.
Correct.
And finally, we had to take the help of supplements. Okay, because she was on the run, on the go. So such kind of people, foods replacement supplements, B12, vitamin D, cortisol lowering supplements was something which we had to look to, and we had to give a lot of nerve relaxing foods. Like chamomile tea, walnuts, kiwi, dark green leafy vegetables, all of that. Second example, again making it quick and fast, I will
So just to
cite
cut
an
you off,
example.
Vaishali, you mentioned this is very intriguing, right? So there are foods that help you lower your stress, and it's not a placebo. Is that what you're saying? Like physically, it lowers your
Absolutely
stress.
not. It's not a placebo, because these particular foods, what they do is they relax and calm your nerves overall. Okay, so what they do, they supply you with nutrients or micronutrients like B12, zinc. All of these nutrients, they work to increase your happy hormones.
Hmm.
Okay, and they help in bringing down your stress levels automatically. And obviously omega 3 also does this particular function, but primarily we have seen it through B vitamins, because nerve excitation is also caused through B vitamins, and nerve relaxation is also caused through B vitamins like folic acid.
Got it. So
Okay,
far my
and
personal
this is
so far my
sorry.
personal thumb rule used to be that whenever I'm in stress, I'll just take 5 deep breaths. I think this is very well known, but people don't implement right somehow. Now probably I'll need to add some foods also that I can quickly have apart from that 5 deep breaths, and suddenly the stress might reduce. That's a good tip. Yeah.
So Akshay, like you said, it's all about holistic healing also. It's not only about food, but it's also about how you breathe, rightly that you said. So taking 5 deep breaths, these are some things which are impromptu strategies. But over a period of time, there are foods which will also help you to calm your mind. Because
Mm-hmm.
like I said, if the gut is healthy, your mind is healthy. That's as simple as it.
Got
Okay.
it.
Last, I would like to leave you with one example which many people are facing today is an autoimmune disorder. Wherein over a period of time, your body's own cells start reacting against each other in the body. So it's actually a confusion in the body, a golmaal that's happening in the body. So आप जो भी खाते हो, your body starts getting allergic to it. So we need to understand here again. We need to start with the gut, okay? And these people face all these symptoms: skin, hair, digestive related issue, energy very low in such kind of people. So in these people, we need to get the immune system is very active, always under threat.
Hmm.
ये प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा, ये खा लिया तो ये प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा. So we have to relax their immune system. Same thing we use here, wherein we try to relax the gut by giving a lot of probiotic foods, which will in turn relax your brain and at the same time get your gut to heal. But one thing is, in this kind of philosophy, I do follow a gluten and a lactose restriction, which is removing wheat related products and milk related of them through a lot of work have shown that do hinder the gut lining.
Hmm.
So if a person comes to me with this kind of a disorder, which is complicated, we need to get the gut healed. And later on, the person in future can have all these foods. But first, we need to get the gut to settle down so that the brain settles down. So gut brain, very strong connection.
Got it. Interesting. This is interesting. All right. So, Vaishali, I want you to talk a bit about the correlation between nutrition and skin health, right? And for me personally as well, right? I've experienced one of the very common issues that I'm sure a lot of men face. It's back acne, right? For a long period of time, and I actually went to a dermatologist to figure things out. I got medication as well. Didn't really ingest those medications on time. I'm just bad with medication schedules. But then incidentally, happened to do a certain number of changes in my diet, and over the next few months, I saw this problem which had been like there for 4 years or more, just vanished. Right? These very small changes that I did by looking up online and just figuring out your diet side se kya ho sakta hai, right? But that was magical, right? Uh, and also, one of the most common things that we see is, right, some people have way better skin, some people have like an oily skin, some people have more imperfections, right? And we've heard people talk about importance of nutrition on that, but nobody really understands ki issue kya hai, science kya hai, aur karna kya hai. Ki let's say I have an issue, right? What are the 3-4 things that I need to do, or what are the 3-4 issues that might be there with my current diet or lifestyle that might be leading to that, right? So if you could just talk a bit about ki how to think about improving your skin health with nutrition, that would be very helpful.
Okay. So Akshat, you spoke about two aspects of skin health. So one aspect is a lot to do with the cleanliness of skin, because the skin is composed of 3 layers. So your innermost layer, that's your third layer, actually produces a lot of sebum or oil, which reaches through the hair follicles on the skin. So the more your sebum is secreted, there is more oil on your skin, which accumulates bacteria and hence causes the infection. So that's a very superficial thing, and that can be corrected through, like you said rightly, all the acne creams and medications and things like that, which your dermats provide you with. But the second issue with skin is a lot to do with your gut related issues. So people who have severe acne, who have dealt with it for years, सब कुछ कर लिया, अरे मैंने ये डर्मेट के पास चली गई, I took vitamin E, I took a multivitamin, but kuch nahi ho raha. So, those kind of people actually have a lot of gut related issues. That means your gut is not healthy. And that's what is reflecting in your skin. Like I had mentioned earlier, the gut is connected with each organ of your body. Let it be your skin, let it be your hair, let it be your, liver, kidney, etc. Okay, so first let's talk about stomach healing when it comes to skin. Now, what are the remedies that one person can immediately adopt when it comes to skin? Is first, importantly, the person has to follow a good diet related regime. Okay, first is hydration, very important. So at least 3 to 4 liters of water, or even more, especially when you're staying in countries where there is a lot of air condition that is there, even 4 to 5 liters, no problem. Okay, and there's no measure to which you can drink water, so a minimum of 3 to 4. Secondly, very important to add in good amount of colorful fruits and vegetables into your diet. The more the fiber in your diet, the more they go into your stomach, they ferment and they help in the development of the good bacteria. Okay, next, very important, green leafy vegetables. So when you're talking about vitamin A, you go to a dermat. The dermat gives you mega doses of vitamin A to cure your skin. Okay, but why can't we get it through our diet? Okay, so hence green leafy vegetables are your go-to when it comes to vitamin A. Also, foods such as papayas, tomatoes, these carrots, they all are very rich in vitamin A. You can just whip up a smoothie or a soup out of it and have it twice a day. They're really yummy with all the spices put together. Okay, very important that along with this, you need to ensure that you're having less amount of sugar in your diet. Okay, sugar can come from your simple sugar. There's a table sugar you add to your tea, coffees, etc. I'll tell you, initially you will have a hassle in letting it go, but once you start, it just takes 2 weeks for you to get off that sugar, and you will see a lot of improvement in your skin health, because sugar feeds the unhealthy bacteria in your gut, which communicates with the bacteria on your skin and causes your bacterial load to multiply on your skin. Okay, and it activates a lot of your sebaceous glands. Same to do with fatty foods. All your fatty foods, they remain undigested in your gut, and they communicate with the sebum in your skin, and then they produce extra sebum. So these are the basic things that you can use, and move over to complex carbohydrates, like for example millets or brown rice, to be added into your regime. And very important, skin hygiene, yes, without saying, very important that you wash your face at least 3 times a day to maintain skin hygiene. And also very important to probiotics. Probiotics are very, very important. So if you're not going to have natural form of probiotics like curd, then you can definitely, and if you have issues with curd, then you can have almond curd and cashew curd, which is actually just coming up. Otherwise, please get a prescribed supplement from a dietitian for a probiotic, because more the probiotics in your diet, the faster you can heal your gut.
Got it. So just for a layman, right? If I currently have a diet that does not have any of these things, but I can then start adding A, fiber, B, green leafy vegetables that are a good source of vitamin A, and C, probiotics, D, limit the amount of trans fat and refined sugar that is getting into my body. Obviously, these are very standard tips for losing body fat, but this will also possibly show magical and visible impact, not over years, but like in months or weeks, on my skin as well. That's a interesting takeaway. I think not a lot of people would know that. I'm sure I can't recall the exact number, but I think easily 15-20% of the population battles with some kind of issues with the skin, right? And
Definitely.
clearly the answer is right there in front of them. Beyond certain cases, which as mentioned, it has to be tackled by the dermatologist. But for more often than not, for most of the population, it's just basic misses that they're doing on their diet. Interesting. So just to
Also, one more tip that I leave clients with is you use a lot of supplements for skin. So, collagen or bone broth supplements is something which you can dwell into, which is again very good for the skin, and it helps in healing your skin. So, this is again after you've tried everything, had a healthy diet, and still there is no change in your skin, then definitely go to a skin practitioner or a medical practitioner or a dietitian to get collagen into your diet.
absolutely. So Vaishali, let's hop on to something that is again very very. I'm personally able to relate to it. I'm frankly very scared of aging. Right, the whole concept of aging, concept of being 50, 60 years old, and certain things that come with it, which is let's say slightly reduced energy levels, slightly I don't know, you have to work way harder to be the same level of fit as you are right now, right? Because naturally muscle mass goes down, metabolism also goes down, and obviously there's a cosmetic side of it. I don't think anybody likes aging, right? Everybody wants to be young forever, uh, and I happen to be in that category. I'm frankly very scared of aging, and that's why I'm kind of jumping with joy when I heard of this news of this set of Israeli scientists actually getting some kind of a breakthrough around reversing aging through some oxygen therapy, which I'll probably will have to read a bit more about. Very early days, but just coming back to the point, yeah. So again, we've seen two kinds of people who look way younger than they are, right? And 99% of the time, it's not magic, it's not even genetics. It's just you take their recall of how their lifestyle is: low stress, clean sleep, clean eating, workout, right? Magic pill, that's the magic pill. Then you most of the population is actually in the other category, wherein they are a certain age but they are looking 5-10 years older, right? uh, so basically would love to understand how exactly this entire correlation between aging and nutrition is. How strong is the correlation? Is it like I have to do so many changes that I just go crazy that to in order to kind of stop aging? Or is it like basic 3-4 things, if we can do over a period of years, you would end up looking 5 years younger to what you actually might be, right? So would love to understand the entire science behind that, and also get some useful tips that I can just take away, and also the listeners can just take away and implement from tomorrow.
So aging is so here we are talking about skin related aging, and skin and body are not very I mean, obviously they're the same. And when you even look at body aging, like you rightly said, it's a lot to do with what you eat and what lifestyle you actually lead. So aging occurs primarily because of one particular reason, something called, so you've seen, so like I said, you've seen some people who are really young though they are really old age wise, chronologically. But here you have some people who are really young but they look so old, so tired, so the skin is not glowing anymore. So if you, like you said, if you take a recall, you will actually come to know what lifestyle they are leading. Why does this happen? This happened because of something called as age degradation products that are formed in your body. That's one. Second is free radical generation. We all know. So these two things, what are these? I'll explain it in very common terms. That toxins that are produced in your body. You're going to eat anything that is harmful to your body is going to react by producing harmful toxins. Okay. Now, ages is produced because you're going to consume a lot of sugar in your diet. Now, I don't mean only sugar which is added to your tea and coffee. Even maida, preserved foods, fatty foods, or preservatives, anything that you're going to consume is going to produce ages. Ages over a period of time. This doesn't happen overnight, okay, Akshat? It happens over a period of time. You will see that following such a lifestyle will lead you to look older. Your skin will start sagging. Aging is more common, okay? And at the same time, stress is also going on in the background. So as you age, stress is going to age. You have to get a job. You have to do different activities. 50s, you start your life, kids, things like that. So that is also going on. That is also producing free radicals. So both of these ages and free radicals, they start eating up your body inside, and that's what you see on your skin. Now, what you can do, to get both of these down, I'll tell you a simple thing. First is eat everything in the world that is colored. Okay, anything that is colored has got antioxidants. Antioxidants eat up these free radicals and ages. And very interestingly, all the colored foods that we have are healthy. Like, for example, carrots, tomatoes, papaya, all your green leafy vegetables, your berries, your apricots, anything that you actually can, eat it in the raw form, because moreover, it retains the enzymes as well, will help in counteracting these ages or free radicals. Okay, so that is the first step. So fill your plate with colored foods. That's the first thing. Second thing is, obviously your body needs water. For anything that your body has to absorb or digest, your body needs water.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're not going to hydrate your body is again going to look tired, sag, no hydration on this. Third, our body produces natural oils, right? These oils are also depend upon what we eat. So the oils are not going to, coat our skin if you're not going to have healthy fats. Or obviously our nuts, our seeds, almonds, walnuts, pumpkin seed, chia seeds, flax seeds. All of these have natural good fat that coat your skin, okay, and natural amounts of vitamin E. So hence, have them into your diet. Best time to have these seeds and nuts is in your mid meals. When you feel, oh, mujhe bahut bhook lag raha hai, have a handful of these nuts, and they will actually ensure that a lot of omega-3, omega-6, omega-9, all of these fatty acids, which are very important for your body, and like I mentioned, vitamin E is very essential for you to coat your skin. Okay, also very important for you to stay happy. For that, you need to have one activity in your day, rather I'd say two. One activity to boost your physical activity. Physical activity is very important. Otherwise, you cannot get your blood flowing. If your blood is to flow to your skin, you need to have some physical activity. Even a brisk walk, 30 minutes a day of brisk walk, can actually stimulate the blood flow through all parts of your body.
Yeah.
Next activity that everybody needs to have is something relaxing, which you like to do. Dance, paint. If you like watching a movie, watch. But even when you're watching a movie, keep your physical activity on, like, spot jump, spot march, and things like that. Okay, don't eat and watch TV, but definitely whatever you like to do. Maybe take a vacation every 15 days. Okay, play with your child. Okay, take up any sport like cricket or badminton, which you can do on weekends, even for an hour. Relax, de-stress. Then automatically, when you de-stress, the free radicals reduce in your body, and you will see that glow on your skin because you're happy.
Got it. So basically, even if I'm taking care of my fitness and nutrition, bang on, but I am perennially stressed and sacrificing on all the activities that I like for some future reward 30, 20 years down the line,
Right.
I would still age. I might feel like I am, absolutely hustling right now, and I'll be happy later on. But it's just accelerating my aging. And so basically, this is the third component, as I understand: fitness, nutrition, and then your mental aspect of it, right? Which is de-stressing and increasing the activities that you like, right? Don't do it all day. Nobody does it, but like at least some part of your day should go into that. Got it. This is helpful. So Vaishali, next thing we'd like to talk about here is digestion. I have so many friends, 26, 27-year-old friends. I'd say out of all people in my circle, easily 20-25% people would have recurring digestion issues, right? And issues by issues, I don't mean like a once in a week issue. It's just like it's part of your life, right? And they are living with that, and it's just painful to see that, right? A young person should not have these kind of issues because they're at the prime of their lives, right? But it's fairly common, right? And people just live with that for a long time, feeling that this is how my body is, right? Now again, just like we talked about skin, right? Can you also kind of try to understand how these what are the, so let's say constipation, irritable bowel syndrome, these are the top two most common, if I'm not wrong, right? Anybody who has these issues, right, what is their guide to start resolving these issues? Again, initial steps might be something you can try at home, around diet. In some extreme cases, there might be some external intervention required, right? Maybe get a medication or something. But what has to be the first step if you have irritable bowel syndrome, if you have perennial constipation? What are the first set of questions you need to ask yourself? And what are the set of 3 4 things that you should immediately do to just start seeing results? If not, then obviously you need to kind of get a expert advice or something.
Okay. Yes, Akshat, it's a very, very common problem. Actually, there was a survey done by Abbott in the year 2018, wherein they actually did a gut health survey, wherein they discovered that at least about 32% of our population is constipated.
32%.
And about 16% of them are severely constipated, and the rest 6% were actually constipated with other comorbidities like diabetes or hypertension or things like that. So now, when you look at such a population, the most alarming thing that came out of the study was almost 22% were using home remedies, and constipation was remain unreported, meaning they're considering it as a part of their lives. नहीं मुझे है, मुझे बहुत सालों से है, मुझे कुछ वैसे तो normally है, it's that kind of a thing until they do not understand how severe it can become, and what kind of disease it can lead to. Okay, so that's about constipation, and the survey also clearly came out with the reasons. One is the lifestyle was very bad, lot of junk eating, skipping of meals. There was absolutely no hydration. People were not bothered. I mean, kitna pani piya, kuch nahi. People are not even keeping a track. There's a lot of stress. So there is a very, very important factor that also came out of the study. What I would urge people is, if you're suffering from something like a constipation or digestive disturbance, ask for help. Because if it's going to remain unreported, okay, today it'll be fine, tomorrow it'll be fine, but day after tomorrow your body is going to revolt back in another way or the other, because it is asking for help and you're not giving it help. Okay, so basically only taking laxatives is not going to help you. That's again a short-term fix. Okay, in relation to irritable bowel syndrome, Akshat, is a little complicated when it comes to that, because it's over year. Because irritable bowel syndrome can never be detected under any of your medical procedure. So that's when the doctor said, "हाँ, आपको irritable bowel syndrome है, so you go and consult a dietitian." Because only the dietitian can help in that front. But otherwise, any of these issues, constipation, dietitian, the doctor will either give an something to release your acidity, okay, an antacid or a laxative to resolve the issue. But then you take it for a few days and again the issue remains, because there are several reasons why this issue remains. Again, let's go back to lifestyle. Aapka lifestyle barabar nahi hai. Two things you need to remember. One is, have enough amount of fiber in your diet. Okay, now this is not for people who are irritable bowel syndrome. Please don't get me wrong. People who are suffering from constipation and digestive issues,
acidity, etc.
Okay? So irritable bowel syndrome, the ball game is totally different. Okay, so people who are who ensure they're having a lot of fiber, okay, through fruits, vegetables. Necessarily doesn't have to be raw. Okay, but only thing is, if you're having juices or soups, do not strain the fiber. Like generally we make juice in a juicer. So don't remove the fiber, add the fiber back into it and have it. Add any amount of spices that you want. Secondly, avoid sugar. Because I'll tell you, sugar, I know I'm talking again and again about it, but trust me, sugar has basically no nutritional value. Okay, yeah. It's only for taste. The one food item which is only for taste is sugar. Okay, sugar does not provide any nutrients. It absorbs extra water also from your intestine, and it will not allow your bowel movements. Okay, so hence sugar. One thing is avoid sugar. Second thing is get your fiber intact, because agar aapka fiber zyada hoga, then automatically your gut will start growing good bacteria, because fiber digests nahi hota hai gut mein. It comes out of your system. Rather, it binds to the fat also and removes it. So if you want to lose fat, also have fiber. Okay, and it helps in forming bulk in your body for your stools. Okay. Also, very important is physical activity. Why I'm talking about physical activity here? This is not for weight loss. Because why constipation has become a big issue? Because people are not moving your body. If you're not moving your body, the digestion happens like this, it's a very spasmodic effect.
Contractions.
Right? Okay, your
Vibrations and contractions.
muscles, your stomach relax. If you're not doing that, how is your body even going to digest the food properly and move it through your body?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
that's what is happening. So people who do not do physical activity, constipation is very, very common in them. The moment for even one small thing like physical activity has started, their bowels just normalize. Okay. Last but not the least, I've been talking about every topic is stress. Moment you're going to get stressed, the anal passage through which you pass stools, it's going to become very small. So how much ever a dietitian gives to thicken your, to loosen your stools, to add physical activity, कुछ भी हो जाए, जब तक आप स्ट्रेस रिड्यूस नहीं करोगे, क्योंकि एनल एरिया में भी नर्व्स होते हैं, तो नर्व्स कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हो जाता है, तो जहां से योर नॉर्मली यू हैव टू पास टूल्स, इट बिकम्स वेरी लेस द साइज. So that's not, you're not going to be able to pass tools. So relax yourself, do something, maybe get into spiritualism, or maybe do some meditation, simple deep breathing. Okay, try to prioritize the areas where you have to stress and the areas where you do not have to stress. Okay, and try to even take of a counselor if you need. Please do not shy away from that. Everybody needs somebody to be non-judgmental and hear you. So even if that is required, please go ahead and do it.
Got it. Interesting. So let's hop on to the entire non-measurables, right? So even I think you can measure digestion, right? How bad is it, right? You feel it. You can measure skin health, you can measure hair health, etc. What you cannot very easily measure, and that's more often than not because people assume that's how their life is, or that's how their entire body or mind is, right? I don't know how to put it, but everybody feels a different level of energy, but you cannot compare Vaishali's level of energy with mine. You can just see that she's speaking more energetically, but how she's feeling, I can't really feel that, right? And so that's the entire thing around the impact of lifestyle on nutrition, on your energy levels, on your mood, on your outlook towards life, right? There's so many studies that are increasingly coming out that are talking about the fact that people who do fitness and nutrition well are way more productive, are way more creative, right? Initially, I was like, what the hell does creativity have to do with my fitness and nutrition, right? But it's coming out loud and clear these days, right? So your entire mood, energy levels in a day, and obviously energy levels would dictate your productivity, your creative thinking. So basically, your life is depending on it. Most of us are knowledge workers these days, right? And if you're a knowledge worker, your creativity, your mood, your productivity, this is what determines your life's outcome, your career growth, etc., right? So how would our listeners try to kind of break down the impact, the correlation between the mental health or the mood side of things, or the energy level side of things, and nutrition? And again, just like we've been talking, what are the three common mistakes that people do that impacts their daily productivity, the nutrition or lifestyle mistakes, right? Just to throw an example, I've seen so many people become almost unproductive. In fact, used to happen with me as well for a while. For the next 2 hours after lunch, you feel drowsy, you become sleepy, etc. But it does not happen with everyone, and it does not has to happen, as far as I understand, right? So somebody who's a productivity geek and just wants to chase high productivity in a day, feel energetic, feel like a hyper energetic guy, what is the set of changes that he needs to do? So what is it that he's doing wrong, and what are the 3-4 things that he can do better and just start seeing the results in a span of weeks?
Okay. So Akshat, basically, you're right. You see a couple of people who are really energetic. They're like this ball of energy, and some people who are little dull. Okay, coming to your first question is, why do some people actually feel lethargic after having a meal? And especially it happens during lunchtime,
Correct.
I don't know. I think many people even skip breakfast. So I don't know whether it actually happens after breakfast. Because lunchtime is very common. So lunch, why? Because our culture is a chapati sabzi culture, a chapati bhaji culture. Okay. So हम लोग डब्बा में हमेशा चपाती भाजी लेके जाएंगे. दाल कभी कभी रहता है, जब सब्जी नहीं रहता है तो दाल रहता है. So it's like an option. But you need to understand both of them are very different food groups. Dal is a protein एंड सब्जी इज अ कार्बोहाइड्रेट और फाइबर भी रहता है, बट हम जिस तरीके से उसको बनाते हैं इतना हीट के साथ, आई डोंट थिंक उसमें कुछ न्यूट्रिएंट्स बचता भी है. इट्स क्वेश्चनेबल, okay, because of our Indian style of cooking. So we need to get out of this kind of culture that we have of just carrying a chapati bhaji, because both are carbohydrates. When you're going to have a rush of carbohydrates into your system, okay, what your brain requires carbohydrates, okay, but at one time it only requires 20%, okay. So what the brain will do is it will take the entire 20%, okay, and it will the rest of it gets stored as fat in your body. So that is one area of the fat deposition that will make you lull. Secondly, the rush of the glucose dulls the brain, okay, because there's a rush of glucose going to your brain all at one time, okay, compared to when you're having something with a protein source. For example, मैंने मूंग का दाल खा लिया उसके साथ, okay, yeah, I had some chole ka sabzi along with that, or maybe even I had some nuts along with that, or some, maybe a fish or a chicken, a small piece, of lean cut I had along with that. That is going to allow my glucose or sugar to release slowly into the system. So there's a difference between the sugar entering into your system slowly, because a protein food binds to the sugar food and allows it to move slowly. But in this chapati sabzi scenario, we're having a lot of sugar go into, because there's no protein to bind to it, right? So you start feeling so sleepy because your brain is burdened with sugar, okay, at that point of time. So brain is like, close, shut down everything, we don't have anything to do, and we just have to sleep right now, okay. Everything is lull, okay. And so at that point of time, we need to understand that every meal should have equal amount of protein, okay. And moment you have a good amount of protein, I'll just give you a simple example, all of you can try this. Just have a good amount of dal and with a moong salad or just a normal salad, okay, along with maybe a little bit of nuts like walnuts, almonds. Have this and have just chapati and any bhaji, like any vegetable that you've made. Have both of this and notice the difference, and then let me know how you feel about it, because protein in your meal makes a huge difference in your mood levels, okay. Also, very interestingly, you need to understand that when your happy hormone serotonin, okay, it will only go into your system in the presence of a carbohydrate. So I'm not saying carbohydrate is not necessary. Carbohydrate is necessary. So all your vegetables give you carbohydrate, right? Even a fruit gives you a carbohydrate, okay? And even your jowar, ka chapati or anything gives you carbohydrate. So carbohydrate actually binds to the protein and allows the happy hormone to release into your system, okay. So serotonin is produced by something called as tryptophan. So carbohydrates trigger this tryptophan. So the moment the tryptophan is triggered or increased in your system, the serotonin or the happy hormone automatically releases in your system, okay. So I have seen everybody who go on a healthy diet with me or with anybody else, first they'll come and say, they'll come and tell, my mood has improved, my energy level has improved. I think nowadays we should ditch the weighing scale, I feel, because the weighing scale is nothing but just a way of showing that how every day our body parameters change. But if you're eating healthy, you're bound to have inch loss, okay. Bound to have a good energy, bound to have good mood, okay. Also, before I wind up this question, I would like to just say one more thing. If your B12 levels are low, if your vitamin D is low, especially B12, I would cite, you will have no energy even when you get up in the morning. You'll feel like, oh God, मैं इतना सोई, but फिर भी मुझे ना आज नहीं अच्छा लग रहा है, बिल्कुल भी नहीं अच्छा लग रहा है. So B12 is low, that will trigger this basic thing. You will feel dull all through the day and zero energy. Second thing is your vitamin D. Vitamin D also prevents depression and sadness. Vitamin D is a universal vitamin and you have to supplement yourself every six months. It's mandatory for everybody. Okay?
And especially, I think,
these are
as far
some
as
things.
I know, absolutely right. I think, as far as I know, most Indians, also 70-80% would be deficient in vitamin D, right? It's a very, very well-known fact, and given
Absolutely.
that it has an impact on your mood, I think if I'm not wrong, your ability to gain muscle, your fitness, your metabolism, it's like a master vitamin, if I had to call it that, right? And given that Indians are so deficient in that, I think absolutely, getting tested once a year or once in 6 months and then doing some supplementation, very few people do, but I think it can have magical benefits, as you rightly pointed out, right? uh,
Yeah.
I think so far we've essentially covered the magic of diet and nutrition and lifestyle on your skin, your hair, your digestion, your energy levels. You actually learned a lot. You actually walked us through a lot of examples wherein people saw drastic transformations, life changes, doing these very very small things. It's no rocket science. Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it at home, right? But now the question remains: we are programmed to be run by our automatic brain, right? Which means most of what we do in a day is governed by behaviors. We do not have deliberate, manual, mindful control on that, right? uh, I, most of your bad habits, most of your routine in a day, what you do after you come back from office, etc. I've actually read a lot on behaviors, right? So it's what determines most of your day and what you do, right? There's very less mindfulness or deliberate thinking in that, right? That's the fact number one. Fact number two is that nutrition is fairly involved. When you talk about macronutrients, micronutrients, gut health, probiotics, vitamin A, vitamin D, right? It's for somebody who's not like super passionate and super into reading and researching, this can be a bit overwhelming, right? Where do I start? I have digestion issues, I have skin issues, I am overweight as well. I don't feel energetic during the day. I don't feel productive. What do I do? Is this my life's reality? No, as you just mentioned, right? All of it is reversible. It's just a function of what you've done last few weeks, months, or years. But it's a lot to do. Let's face it, right? I myself consider myself a person who can like read and proactively make these changes, right? But most of the people I know are not that proactive, that motivated, or that level of self control, right? How does one absorb so much information for our listeners as well, who would have gained a lot of information but would still feel clueless as to what to do, right? There's like 20 things to remember, 30 things to do. How do I break it down? How do I personalize it for myself, right? People can be clueless even after consuming all the right information, right? What is the one or two tips that you would give them to actually ensure that any listener who's gone through this entire conversation of ours is positively able to make these changes and really like transform those aspects in the next 4 to 8 to 12 or 16 weeks?
Okay. So Akshat, I know it's like too much of information to grab, and there are some strategies definitely you can start applying, but definitely we'll be sharing tips on skin as well as hair health, digestive health as a part of our entire program, so that you can go ahead and start applying. But yes, my urge to you is that. I would suggest that every one of you can at least once go and get yourself consulted from a proper health coach who can help you with your strategies and with your kind of personalization, because everybody has a different lifestyle, right? So to customize according to your needs. And like Akshat, you said, we have been doing certain things voluntarily all our lives, and it's difficult to break a habit. Even if you tell me aaj ke aaj coffee chhod do, it is difficult. Okay.
Yeah.
So everything goes through a process. So nobody is asking you to change overnight. But even if you make two changes today, continue that for a week and a half, and then start making another two changes. This is what we're talking about, a gradual lifestyle change. Okay. It's difficult to put everything into a particular thing, personalize it and give it to you. But definitely, like we promise, we'll be sharing with you certain pointers which as tips and guidelines which you can get started. Okay, for sure. So I would urge all of you to take it seriously and not take it lightly, and get help from our authorized person as well.
Absolutely.
And definitely you have NutriPal with you, so you can definitely reach out for help to us.
Absolutely right. So that's one thing that has been my insight when we've been trying to when you're building and scaling NutriPal over the last 15 months, right? There's always three categories of people, right? So one category is a
Right.
very very small 10%, 5% people who
Yeah.
who have the information, who can ingest information and do it on their own. Then the next category is people who have the ability to really curate and find out the right sources and right information on the internet. But that level of self control is not there for you to actually see consistent habit change and then consistent results, right? That's another, let's say, 20-30%. The major chunk of the population falls in the category which also doesn't have the time or the energy or the approach to curate information, personalize things for them, and also don't have the level of self control to be able to make those changes and sustain those changes, right? So the fact that most of the population is unhealthy is because most of the people are in category 3. And as you rightly mentioned, right, if you're in category 3, once you recognize that you're in category 3, it is imperative for you to seek help, right? It's okay. It can be a friend who just holds you accountable on a WhatsApp group. You hold each other accountable, right? It can be a, even better, a dietitian who's like your health coach, and they'll just ensure that over the next few months you reach where you want to be. This is the safest and the most reliable way, I would say, of actually transforming your health. And whatever your health goals are, could be, general health, digestion, could be body fat, or could be, let's say, diabetes control, PCOS reversal, whatever that is, right? So
True.
absolutely.
True,
And
Akshat.
that's
Yeah.
where
Absolutely. So, like you mentioned, the last category of people are the ones that actually need help, but somewhere they lose out on asking for help. What I would request this category of people is, you have tried, okay? In case you have tried anything, or you have the idea that I will try this, but it has not worked out for you, this something is lacking.
yeah.
It's the motivation, it's the hand holding that's lacking, okay? And the right guidance. So we are here to guide you, we are here to help you. And that's what life coaches are for, all nutritionists, dietitians. We're here to help you and guide you in the right direction, because there's so much of information is available there on the internet. And you get confused what to follow, and then you end up not seeing results. So I would request each and every one of you to at least um, invest yourself for at least 6 to 8 months with a proper nutritionist, an experienced nutritionist who can help and guide you.
This was very, very interesting, very, very insightful, very, very full of knowledge and learnings. But what I definitely request you to do is share out all of this content, in the form of a blog or something that we can simply attach in this as part of this podcast, so people can actually refer to it and make immediate changes. And that's our whole purpose, right? That's the whole objective of this podcast, is just to help this
Yes.
knowledge get to the right people and ensure that they're able to make the habit changes that they need to improve their lives. Thanks a lot for your time, Vaishali.
Thank
We'll
you. Thanks, Akshay.
definitely be back next week for our viewers with more interesting conversations on health, wellness, and nutrition to help them achieve their health goals and transform their lives. Um, Thanks a lot. Thanks. See you again.
Thanks, Akshay. Thanks to all the viewers. And until next time, yeah, stay healthy, stay wise.